Radio Sports Network preview of tonight and this weekend's big sports matchup in basketball for the WIAA tournaments. I'm Brian Major along with Jacob, Eric, Tim, Santa Claus, whoever we've got else we can possibly get on. Sorry. But it's a lot of fun because we still have some teams alive, one team alive in the girls brackets. And we'll talk about that first, but we've got to talk about the excitement that we had this past Tuesday with a couple of our games. One of them was still a great game to be a part of, but it was not as close as the other two, was it, Jacob?
No, it was one that was kind of by the book. The result was kind of seen on the wall before you even got into the gym, and it turned out that, Algoma had kind of no problem handling Southern Door. As we talked with Coach after the game, he would have liked to see it be a little cleaner of a win, but at this point, a win's a win, and that's the only thing you're after. Moving on, surviving in these playoffs.
And you know what? Like you said, a win is a win. You move on. No injuries, so call it good. The other two games, man, those were awesome. I'll be the first to admit when it comes to Gibraltar and Suring, I'm putting my hands over my face. I turned it off. Gibraltar got down. A few minutes left to go. I said, you know what? I'm gonna shift over and start listening to the game Eric was calling. Tuned it back in about a minute and a half to go, and I said, whoa, awesome. Tim, tell us about that game.
Yeah, it was something that we had seen over the last couple of games that I've called where, all of a sudden the game starts to slip, and instead of it being just like a 9-point deficit, all of a sudden it turns into 18 or 27. But all of a sudden, Marco Harigi was able to start hitting some shots from outside. Aaron Bry was continuing to have his strong second half. Kaya Jackson caught fire back again, and they were able to flip the game on its head. And I thought the interesting thing that Travis Ward, the head coach of Gibraltar, told me before the game that ended up still being true was that the Packerland Conference was undefeated against the Marinette Oconto Conference this season. We were kind of going through, and even though all those teams had higher seeds, none of them beat the Packerland Conference this season, and that held true with Suring falling to Gibraltar. Exciting game. Suring still had a good chance to win the game at the end. They missed a three. There was a bunny underneath that was short as well, but man, oh man, talk about exciting times to be a Vikings fan, that's for sure.
That was, when I was listening to that, the excitement towards the end, beautiful call on that one, fun to listen to, fun to be a part of, but that wasn't the only one that was fun on the new Radio Sports Network. Eric, you had a nail biter, which
so first of all,
we said this one could be a little clinical. It wasn't.
So first of all, just touching on Tim's game, I have to express the agony that myself as an M&O alum went through in that game, watching another M&O team fall to the Packerland Conference, but also my broadcast partner, Renty Thompson, who is a Suring alum, who played for Coach Regal in Suring. And, I provide this update that Tim texts us to provide to our listeners, and he's like just devastated. I'm like, Ramsey, we still got a game to call, man. Like we got to lock in here.
He's got to get a good broadcast pep talk.
Yeah.
It's like when my brother was texting me stuff from Hersey, which has nothing to do with not just the games that we call, but with Wisconsin sports as a whole. I'm like, oh, man, Hersey just lost in wrestling. Oh, wait, I'm calling basketball in Wisconsin. Okay, phone away.
So I wanted to start with that. But, taking a look at that LC Green Bay West game, taking a look into that game, it kind of felt, like you said, clinical, where Green Bay or Luxembourg Casco had already beaten Green Bay West earlier in the season in February by over 20 points. So it felt like kind of get that feeling. But, I don't know if it was high school kids just being high school kids or if, what was in the water that day, but it was a slow start for Luxembourg Casco. They got down 9-2. They clawed it back. They rallied and built the lead, I believe, as high as 10 at one point. But Green Bay West just wouldn't go away. They were determined to pull the upset and get their second win on the season, which ultimately the game, it ends up being a 54-53 final or 53-52, 53-52, I think. But it ends up being closer because of a three that was made at the buzzer. It was really a 4-point game. going into those final moments that really probably could have even been further apart, but you have to make your free throws. That's a big part of the playoffs because you don't get to play the next day if you don't make your free throws, and it almost came to fruition. So at the end of the day, March is all about survive and advance. That's what the Spartans did, and they get the opportunity to play Plymouth this week.
So you had just mentioned this, a 20-point victory earlier in the season. Do you think that played in the psyche a little bit of the way they started and what they thought? Because we make the predictions. We can do that. We have this luxury. We sit in our cubicles. We sit in our offices. We sit in the studios, and we can do this. Do you think the kids did that a little bit? The boys did that?
I'd be hard pressed to say that didn't factor in, at least in some capacity. I mean, this is a team that Green Bay West came in at 1-22. That's just the reality of what their season was. They actually got their lone win the day after they played Luxembourg Casco. But they also had a really good player who can make threes at any given moment, and that's exactly kind of what happened. He came in, he had a huge second half, and I don't know if it was looking ahead too much, which very much can happen with high school players, actually players of all levels for that matter. If you're looking ahead too much, taking it for granted, or again, just kind of one of those where you let a team hang around a little too much, they get some extra confidence, and then stuff starts slipping away. You play a little tight in that opening game, and next thing you know, you're like, oh man, we barely got through that one. But again, the final score looks a little closer than it probably was in the grand scheme of things too, so you can kind of take that and put that in your cap as well.
Yeah, because I do remember it being about 49-53, and I'm like, okay, this is that. And then all of a sudden it was like they hit the three, and I'm like, whoa, what? And then it was the buzzer. I'm like,
and luckily for Luxembourg Casco, Green Bay Southwest had used their last timeout, so they couldn't call a timeout after the make. So Luxembourg Casco didn't even have to pick up the ball to start a 5-second count, which it wouldn't matter.
Just let it roll.
Right. There was less than 5 seconds left anyway, so even if they pick it up right away, who cares? But there was no clock stoppage, and they could just let it roll and didn't have to even pick it up to start that 5-second count. So it all ended up working out. They didn't even have to really try to foul on one of the players before the ball was passed in, because everybody kind of stood around like, oh, what just happened? Even the Green Bay West players were like, he made that. We're down one. Now what?
Yeah. At that point in time, you just tackle somebody, stop the clock any way you can.
Right.
Even though you can't, that's not legal, but
and everyone just froze, and then those last 2 seconds tick off, buzzer sounds, and then it's like, oh, we could have done something here.
But again, like Tim says, like we've said, these are high school kids. It's that you have one win on the season. You're just not used to being in that crunch time for that team. Let's move to tonight's matchup. This is a big one. This is a big matchup. I got a gut feeling about this one, gentlemen. I got a gut feeling on this one. Eric, don't make a prediction. Actually, make a prediction, because then we know it's going to go the other way. So with this
make the prediction, knowing how your past predictions have worked.
This one is going to be. This is a big game tonight against a big time team, and a team that had to fight through adversity in game number one. Showed their true colors and their true strength in game number two to win regionals. And that's the Kewanee Storm, the regional champs, facing off against number one seed Manitowoc Lutheran. And Eric, Tim, you guys are teaming up for this broadcast because it's a big one.
Yeah, if I can start, Tim's had this last two playoff games, but this is a team that we saw, Paul and myself saw last year in the same school in Denmark. Game went to overtime. Kewanee played them down to the wire and just essentially ran out of time, and really kind of felt in command towards the end of regulation in that one. And then overtime hits, momentum swung the other way. So this is definitely a game that, they play in the regular season as well. Kind of same thing happens. They're up at halftime, game kind of slips away. So this is one that Kewanee's going to come out really hungry on, and to try to really get past this team that's kind of haunted them the last two seasons. I'm excited for this one, and I'm glad I got to jump on this one with Tim.
Yeah, I just got off the phone with head coach Lynn Geyer a little bit ago, and she's pulling out all the stops. She's got alumni coming in because this is a bigger team that they'll be facing, so they add some toughness. But when Lynn is able to call in alumni and former players that have played college ball, have played at Kewanee, you're not just coming in and bringing in players that are just familiar with the program. You're bringing with people that are familiar with success. You got some state champions. Kylie Heim is one of the assistants on the team. She would have been on that state runner-up and state championship team. And, some of the other names that Lynn shared with me, I mean, those are people that not only can you coach them up while you're practicing, but people that get that Storm pride, that Storm legacy, and try and instill that in their players. And yeah, we really saw two teams between Friday and Saturday. We saw how this team has some resilience when Jade Kroll has to step out because of injuries. So Braylon Chevalier really pick up the pace in the second half. She was the leading scorer there. And then when Jade is able to do Jade things, she scores 38 points and she's able to hit shots all over the place. So it should be a great lineup. And like Eric said, some of those things can stick in your craw a little bit. And I'm sure it lost in the sectional semifinals last year. And then, once again, having that lead at halftime this year and falling short in their regular season matchup. But that's going to stick with you and give you a little fire in your belly when it comes to game time.
Yeah, just one of those Jade Kroll. She was mentioned in the Miss Basketball conversations for a reason. I mean, she didn't ultimately end up being a finalist, but she was in those conversations all season long, the watch list, everything like that. She proved it Saturday night. She's got, she's hoping to have at least 4 more games left to prove that once again that these people were wrong.
Yeah, and if you're one of those, go ahead, Jacob.
Just to build hype for this game a little bit more, Manitowoc Lutheran's been blowing teams out of the playoff, and for good reason. They have their program's top 2 leading scorers. This is not a team where you can shut one person down and you're going to win the game. They have weapons on the court. Kewanee has weapons as well, and this should be a heck of a game tonight.
I was going to say exactly what Jacob said. When you look at this, no team in the playoffs so far has scored over 30. 29 points was the most scored. The part that kind of makes me cringe, those were both Packerland teams. This is the 3rd Packerland team in a row that Manitowoc Lutheran. We don't want a full cap full of feathers being like Packerland, So like I said, this team, I think they faced the adversity early enough where they've got that, Miss Basketball. She's got something to prove. The team's got something to prove. Beating a team. They say beating a team 3 times is tough, but I think beating that team, they've got this little bit. Like I said, I got a feeling about this game. Whether it comes out in favor of Kewanee or whoever, I got a feeling this is going to be the game that we're going to want to be a part of. That's going to happen tonight. That's going to happen on WBDK. Broadcast starts at 6:45. Now, what everybody wants to know, what's going on Friday night? Holy cow. We better get some sleep after that one because we're not taking a break on this one. Tim, surprised we're playing on Friday night? Not really. Not a real big surprise. I think we saw that we had thought about it and we planned actually on it. I'm going to go with who's got the shortest amount of driving first. I heard about this for 3 weeks. Oh my gosh, I hope they win because this is what we can get.
I may walk.
So the guy packing up his radio flyer and walking down the street to get to the game. Tell us about this. Tell us about this game, Providence.
After years of going to Florence, Niagara, Phelps, 2.5 hours one way, 2.5-minute car ride might be in. Yeah, Providence, this is their first year playing as an independent team. Some of the names that I was looking at on the roster quickly, they were NEW Lutheran players, but then they built Providence Academy on the west side of Green Bay, or as I would call it, Howard, because that's where it is. A lot of the teams defected. And to be honest with you, what we've seen with Providence is that they've put some good teams together. Soccer in particular, I believe their girls soccer team won conference last year, so they got some athletes that made the transition from that co-op team with NEW Lutheran to Providence Academy. And to be honest with you, the matchup I'm looking forward to, I've actually went to their opening night of their brand new gym. Beautiful facility there. The Isaiah Faulkner and Kyan Jackson matchup literally has me super excited. Two really exciting guards that make everybody around them. And oh, by the way, they can shoot the ball really well, and they can make some pretty acrobatic shots as well. The teams that they have faced, they both struggled with Nucha, which, I know all of us kind of said, oh, a bunch of homeschool kids, but hey, Nucha was really good this year if you take a look at Bound, Wisconsin there. And then they played a bunch of those Marinette Oconto.
I just remember that conversation. I'm jumping in on this one. I remember that one. Oh, this game could be a blowout from the what happened?
Yep, they lost by 10. Providence lost to Nucha by 20 the first time and 12 the second time. So they also beat up on some Marinette Oconto conference teams. Sorry, Ramsey. Sorry, Eric, on that one. And, they blew Lena out of the water on Tuesday night. So it'll be interesting to see how Gibraltar, once again, new gym, different location and stuff like that. But, they always come into these games really as the seeded underdog just because of the trials and tribulations that they take during the Packland Conference season. So I feel like when it comes to tournament time, this is a team that's able to play loose, and they kind of know it's like, hey, you know what? We know what we're capable of. We don't need we know what our record is, but we also know why our record is the way it is, and allows them to play a pretty exciting brand of basketball.
Want to make a prediction, or should we save those? Save those for the end.
Save it for the end. All
right. Another not so far drive, but should be a.
It does require a car.
It does. It is going to require a car or a really powerful moped. I don't know. I had tried to come up with something. Actually, we'll move over to Jacob next because this game, it's got a lot riding on it. St. Mary Catholic, Algoma, a 5-4.
Yeah, it should be the matchup that you usually see when you get those close seeds like that. It's two teams that are fairly close record-wise, but you're going to have teams that need to play their brand of basketball and take the other one out, because Algoma has the ability to shut down teams from scoring, but that is what St. Mary Catholic does. They are a high-scoring team averaging 75 points per game. Algoma, they have the ability to go run and gun, but they have at times this season shut down some teams from scoring as well. They need to be firing on all cylinders. They cannot play the brand of basketball that we saw them play on Tuesday. They will not get past St. Mary Catholic playing how they did against Southern Door, but the good thing is they're well aware of that. That was the first thing Coach talked to me about after the game was it was a sloppy game, but we got through. Well, you got that test out of the way. You know that you have bigger teams, stronger teams coming in, and you're hoping you can get by St. Mary Catholic to hopefully set up another familiar opponent that you really want to take down, is that whole 3 times a season thing that we've been talking about so far.
I went to that one next because if that offense can step up a little bit and outgun, or the defense can shut down St. Mary's, or St. Mary Catholic, excuse me. We'll do to make sure,
Always a reason in the car.
And if the Storm on Friday can take care of business, there would be a Packerland regional final, which that happened last year with Southern Door and Algoma. And you know what? There's a part of me that wants that, and we can talk logistics, and we'll let you know logistics on that one in a minute. But Algoma's got a lot going on, a lot to fight for. They had their little bit of adversity, and well-coached team, by the way. Well-coached.
They've been surviving through these games without their top players all playing quality games. Like on Tuesday night, their number 2 scorer was Griffin Robinson with 13. That's not their usual number 2 scorer. He contributes for sure, but him being the second leading scorer on the team with only 3 players in double digits, that's the weird thing. Braden Leist only had 10, and they blew Southern Door out of the water. Lishka got his normal 20, but if you can get a couple more out of Lishka, get a normal Braden Lice game, and then get Griffin Robinson to also contribute, you're setting yourself up for a victory.
I mean, I hate to say that an injury may have helped them, but Braden Lice had that lower leg injury that took him out of a month. It was two different teams, to be honest with you, when I called Algoma, Gibraltar, and Fish Creek, and then when a young studious broadcaster joined me for the game at Algoma, where all of a sudden you have Braden Lice there, and that allows Parker Lichka to kind of roam a little bit more because you got that fast guard to kind of run the offense on the other side too, and kind of that slashing play there. So the nice thing for Algoma is that if a Parker Lichka takes a step back, if a Braden Lice takes a step back, they already know how to run that race with one of their horses down.
And they've done it a couple times this year with that injury where Griffin Robinson has been that guy to stand or to take that extra step as a younger player, step in. And even in the game I had against Kewanee, which was a game in the academic sense, the score wasn't as close necessarily as the game was. But, I mean, he hit some critical shots. He was the one willing to take those shots. He had the ball handling against this loaded Kewanee team. So he's stepped up in these roles. And in the first matchup against Kewanee, Braden Lice didn't play in that game. He was on his injury. And Robinson was the second leading scorer in that one. So he's shown to step up in those moments as well.
Moving on. LC, little road trip, Plymouth.
Yes.
They got to play better than Tuesday.
They do, and I think this is a team that is very capable of doing so. They are very athletic. They kind of seem tentative, and it kind of happened in early part of that first half when a couple shots didn't fall. Bryce Peisler missed a couple early threes. Jacob Koisman missed a couple early threes, and they kind of went into a shell a little bit. Koisman didn't even score in the second half. He had 9 in the first half. He finished with 9. And Ramsey and I had been talking on the way home, and I think he might have only had a couple shot attempts in the second half. And the team runs better when he's on the floor facilitating and they're scoring through him and around him, where if he's not scoring, he's also facilitating. He draws so much presence because he's so athletic that it opens up other guys. And they're going to need that performance in this game. They are playing a very familiar opponent. Once again, I had mentioned this with the girls team last week. It seems like these two schools are always fated to meet each other, whether it be football or basketball or, what have you. Mm-hmm. And this is a team that, when you're looking for something that may stick in their craws, Tim says, this is a team that's ended their football season. A lot of these guys are on that football team, and they've ended their season the last 2 seasons. So to get some sort of leg up, they can do it. Coach Jandren has mixed up the defenses really well. They'll play a couple different zones. They'll play man, and they're going to have to throw some different stuff at the wall here to stop Caden Schultz because he is an incredible athlete for Plymouth.
We'll get to predictions in just a second. We got one more game we're covering. It's going to be on WBDK, but you guys all have games. So that means I think I have to put on headphones.
It's all about Do Re You.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. I have not called a basketball game this year. Usually I've got a couple, but you guys have done a fantastic job over the course of the season to stick to the schedule. So I am going to take on the first round of the boys Kewanee game. So maybe the second, depending on how the outcome goes. Which there's a part of me that's like, yeah, let's do that. Jacob, you might be joining me if Algoma wins. You might be taking over if Algoma. Anyway, so here's the thing. I'm not as familiar with Kewanee. I can tell you all about their soccer team. But I'm not as familiar with their basketball team. So for those, all 3 of you have seen them play. Tell me what I could expect to see on the court and from them as they take on number 9 Manawa.
Who wants to go first on that
I
one?
was going to say, now I'm feeling real confident. Thanks, guys. I was going to watch some film. See ya.
Kewanee was that school that was on our schedule for Gibraltar, but then there was snow and other reasons came up. I know I think they. I think
Oh,
they
that's right. Yeah, we did. We
got
moved
moved.
that
It was
game.
Valentine's Day, and I like being married, so we did not do that game. And then I like having a voice, so then there is the senior night game at Gibraltar that we also did not do. But I have the sad distinction of seeing their last loss, which was at Oconto last year, and it was a heartbreaking loss. And we're actually going to talk to Matt Bosdek, the coach, coming up later this afternoon. My first question is, how much did that loss to Oconto kind of set the scene? I was actually watching the interview again, just kind of his preparation, stuff like that. And you can tell it was emotional, and not just because obviously, it's a long season. His son Diesel's on a team. Diesel's having another great season as well. But like he knew that, like, you can almost tell that he knew something was special. And I'm very curious to see how much did that loss kind of set the stage for this year, where they've gone 24-0, and just kind of that humbleness that has to grow out of it, because obviously, as you should do when your team is as good as they are, when they're 24-0, they're beating teams left and right, number one ranking, all these other things. How do you ground them? And I think sometimes it comes to a hard loss, like what they experienced in that regional semifinal last year. They kind of go, hey, you know what? As good as everything's going, because they had a great season last year too, all it takes is, a couple shots not to fall our way, and then all of this is over. And, being a kid of the 90s in Chicago, rooting for the Bulls, I remember Ron Harper had that shirt, "Don't mean a thing without the ring." And you could be 24-0 right now. You're 0-0 starting on Friday.
Yeah.
But the good thing for them is they've been reminded of that several times over the past couple seasons, not just basketball, but football, baseball. Several players on this team were on the state championship field down in Appleton, Grand Chute, at where the Timber Rattlers play for their state.
So we all were going to correct you there.
But they fell in a state championship game. They made a deeper run into the football playoffs this season. This team is hungry to get over that hump and bring the final trophy home. Sectionals are great when you win them, because is what you have to rest your laurels on, but they want that state championship.
Yeah.
They want the proverbial ring. And this team, they're undefeated for a reason. They have 4 players scoring double-digit points. That you can spread the ball around, and it's very hard to shut down 4 different players on a court who can put up points on any given night. So this team has been tested in playoffs across sports. They know what it takes to get through. They know they need to play quality games across the board to take victories. And I don't think this is a team that's going to look past a team just because, hey, we're the 1, they're the 9. I don't think this team cares at all, for all the right reasons. They know any given day a sneak attack can come and you can get sucker punched, and they are not willing to let that happen one more time.
Now they're the number 1 overall.
I believe so. Yep, number 1 team in Division 4 according to the Bowens. So, and they've held that ranking for a long time. It's not
for a few weeks. I think they got that when they beat Bondwell, didn't they?
I believe so. Yeah, I think this happened like the next day or something like that.
And once that happens, not only do you have to play the best that you possibly can, you have a big target, because you lose. Everybody was like, well, you know what? We didn't just beat the number 1 seed. We beat the number 1 team. And we played well again. I mean, even over the course of the season, we played well against that number 1 team. And it's like, wait a minute. You lost, but we played well. You are that team now. They are that team. And that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to see this team a few times during the stretch run here leading up to the playoffs. And actually, they were number 1 going into that Bondwell game. They put up a 96-58 win over Green Bay NEW Lutheran on a Saturday, and went into that Bondwell game as number 1. They will tell you it doesn't matter. It's kind of one of those still cool things to hang your hat on. But not only is this team, hungry for all those reasons you guys have mentioned, but watching them play, the word that comes to mind is complementary. They play such a complementary style of basketball where they have 5, the 4 guys who score in double figures every game, but they have 7 guys who can. They go into their bench a little bit deeper at times, but it's really Evan Mako and Baylor Elliott who get the most minutes off the bench. And those guys are just as capable of putting up double figures. I think I've seen of my 3 games I did for Kiwani, I think Baylor Elliott finished in double figures in 2 of them. And he is just as talented to make that happen. And to a point of even if some adversity would strike, whether it be injury, foul trouble, what have you, any given game, they've won so many games dominantly that they've gotten these backup players and the JV guys so many extra minutes that they can step seamlessly into the system. And their JV games, they're winning by blowouts too. So these are guys who, I mean, you say they're 7 deep, they're 8 deep on a given night when you're putting it in like college basketball terms and pro basketball terms, but really you can make the argument that they're a legitimately 10-person team deep, and it's next man up should some adversity happen. Now, I'm going to go on record saying I don't foresee that happening this round, but should it happen, I mean, again, they're complementary in every single definition of the word.
And when you can dig that deep into your bench in high school basketball, that makes you all the more dangerous.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we'll get to our predictions. We've been at this for a while. Well, the Kiwani game, let's just say it's probably what we would call a clinical decision on this one, just because you got a 1-9, but an overall 1. I expect the first 3 to 5 minutes to be hard fought. They're going to try to run them. They'll probably try to trap them. They'll probably do everything they can to slow them down. But by the end of the first half, it'll probably be 15, 20 points. And we'll probably see it's 15, 18 players playing for them. Taking nothing away from Manoa, but it's probably what's going to happen.
Given the jokes that we've had throughout this episode, I will let you guys say that. I'm not going to, because my last 2 predictions in that sense have been completely polar opposite wrong. So I'm going to stay out of this one. But I'm just going to listen.
Look, it's just what I've seen, what I've read, and what I've heard. This team's loaded. This team's for real. This team's for real. They're coached. It comes from the coaching. The coaching has kept them humble, and a humble, strong, well-coached team with talent like they have. That's tough. That's tough. That's a team that's getting out of regionals. They're getting out of regionals. They're not going to be. They're not. Yeah, they're not. They're getting out of regionals. That's going to be my prediction.
We'll most definitely be back in Kiwani on Saturday.
Yeah,
there are some. It's cliche a lot throughout the season or towards the playoff times where people go, "Oh, so and so they could make a run." This isn't the tongue in cheek. They could make a run. This team, this Storm team, is built to make this run. They could be a very special team. They have challenges stepping up in front of them throughout these playoffs, but I don't see that struggle coming on Friday night.
Yeah, Friday's game not a struggle. Saturday game probably not a struggle. The sectionals. Oh, sectionals is going to be a struggle. It's going to be a battle. But their regionals is a stepping stone for them. It's a warm up. Tim, I'm not predicting this one.
My prediction based on just I guess history, I guess you can say, and you look, I could be overthinking, and you look at common opponents and stuff like that. But
what's your prediction? Come on,
I'm building to it. This building, by the way, will take longer than my drive there. So if I drive. So, anyways. But Travis Ward, I mean, we'll talk to him at 1:00 this afternoon as well to kind of talk this one over as well. But, I think this is where this coaching staff kind of hangs their team on. They know that they're going to get kicked in the teeth in the regular season by, really good Packerland Conference teams. And then, all of a sudden the treadmill, as we always say, this is during the conference season. And then finally, it feels like they're on a level playing field when it comes to tournament time. And, with Providence, first time in the tournament, facing some similar opponents and stuff like that. I see Gibraltar being able to have their way in this one, and I'm sure I'll be texting Jacob on Saturday the same bad joke I text other people when I go to their hometowns, and I go, "Where's the statue for Jacob Nate?" Because I think Gibraltar will make it to Reedsville on Saturday.
Yeah, there's no statue. I was told by a coach at one point, "You're here because they need someone to practice against. They don't build statues for practice dummies."
The GPA boost, though, man.
Yeah, that I didn't have either.
I donate duct tape to my alma mater to make sure that my piece of paper stays on the locker room wall at Hershey. So costs me about $5 every year, and it's well worth it.
Algoma St. Mary, what do we got?
This could be a very tough matchup for Algoma, but with the way this team has gone throughout their season, they've put up fights with Kewanee in a couple of the games. Score towards end of games might get blown out, but as we've talked early on in last week, sometimes late in games, those just get blown out of proportion. But if you're watching the games in the gym, the games are a lot closer than the final score may be. So I won't be shocked one way or the other. I don't want to do the commentator jinx and say who's going to win, but I won't be surprised if suddenly one of our stations frees up because two teams are in the same gym that are both in our coverage umbrella.
Wow. I just did that. I was like, we have 3 potential saying we got Saturday games. I'm liking this. So everybody else is going to predict for Mr. Fisher because we're not going to do this. Although gut feeling on this one, I'll go first. I don't mind. They play like they did on Tuesday. We have a station free. I don't think anybody would disagree with me on that one. That's fact. I think if they play played up to their potential, I think they're going to be giving Plymouth a run for their money because they are much more talented than we saw in what we heard on Tuesday night.
Mitch got very good talking points from Tuesday, and we'll keep it at that. You got very good talking points.
I will agree with that as well. And again, not going to make the prediction because it hasn't worked out well for me.
We can hint at predictions though,
right?
All of us. I'm not going to. I'm going to say, look, there's a game on WBDK on Saturday.
But
I don't care. Let's do it.
I will also go on record saying that this is a school that it feels like Luxembourg has a tough time getting past Plymouth. The girls did it last week. And maybe that opens something up. I think, again, just this familiarity with these athletes is going to be a driving factor. I'm planning to be busy Saturday night in some capacity. I don't know where it will be. But you will probably hear my voice this weekend. Just it's a matter of which station.
That's a good prediction. That is a good prediction. We can live with that one. Oh, gentlemen, thank you very much. If you want to hear Kewanee Storm, it's on 96.7 WBDK. If you want to hear Luxembourg Casco, 104.1 WRLU, Algoma, U1021, and if you want to hear Tim Coles as he walks over about 700 feet to Providence Academy as the Gibraltar Vikings.
1.22 miles.
1.22 miles.
The hop, skip, and a jump for the runner, Tim Coles.
He will be on 105.1 The Goat. Thank you, everyone. This has been, we'll have to do this again because this is fun and it kind of puts a perspective on what we all do with the New Radio Sports Network. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure.